soul. The voodoo man tell me, they give me dead people bowling tea. They have me tied from my head to my toe. No care how I try, I properly tie. I want to go, let me go. I want to go, let me go. Hey, hey. I want to go, let me go. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, oh, oh. Ah, ah. I want to go, let me go. I want to go, let me go. Hey, hey, hey. Ah, ah, ah.
So you pray Satan, that mysterious man, and you keep saying, in hell keep living. Each time you know you're thinking wrong, devil but so all over town. You're pretty devil, you're pretty bad. Well, look the devil right in your yard. And he grinning while you saying grace, shaking up the daily people face. We devil day, look the devil day. To fool people's eyes, devil does disguise, but it's no problem to recognize them. Some like it was dark, dark, dark in a big, big park. I felt like a king upon the throne, me and Imelda lying alone. When I heard her talk and a creeping walk, as I look around frightfully, we were lying in the center of a cemetery. You talk about rat, I nearly break me head, rat living running from the...
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, it is, of course, the corridor transformation, and by the music, of course, and the theme, it may be in disguise, it may be a bit complex, so let me appease, let me, of course, settle your curiosity. Yes, we're going to be talking about, of course, the lies and the multiple and manifold lies of Dr. Rowley. He did again, of course, quite from program in Samoa, where, of course, the heads of government meeting of the Commonwealth countries has been convened. And we need, of course, to disabuse, because he is attempting, of course, to try to sanitize, to try to justify his meeting with Jindal in circumstances that were not only questionable, not only unethical, but certainly demonstrates, of course, his rank and unadulterated arrogance, contempt, and, of course, poor respect for decency in public office.
This time I see the devil. I see a tall white horse on top of a big black cross. As I ball out Obama dead, the horse say, "Kids, come go to bed." You talk about
Of course, no introduction like this. Having regard to Rowley's, the Prime Minister of this country, recent statement from, of course, as I said, quite across on the other side of the world, near Australia and New Zealand in the Pacific Ocean, Somao, where, of course, as I said, the Commonwealth meeting of heads of government is taking place. But you see, you must not allow Rowley to have an edge. Otherwise, he'll take what? He'll take several miles. Not an inch, he takes several miles. Not a millimeter, he will take several thousand meters. Or more than that, kilometers, to be more specific, and to, of course, graphically demonstrate who Rowley is. You cannot from somehow tell us that somehow what you did with respect to the accommodating Jindal is in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago, and somehow, mysteriously, enigmatically, telling us that somehow the opposition is unpatriotic. Hold your tail!
Why, sir? Check it out. Mr. Depot, ain't say nothing yet. If you really want to hear about fishing, let me blow your mind. Now listen to something. When you're talking about fish, you just hit the spot. I was hoping you did believe it or not. The fish your father caught.
No backlash coming my way. I do not speak loosely, and I don't tell lies. I am prepared to stand the consequences of my actions, whatever they might be, and therefore I don't have to lie to get a better outcome. So when I say something, if I make a mistake, I'll be the first to apologize. But I don't speak loosely. And I don't tell lies. I don't tell lies. I am prepared to stand the consequences of my actions, whatever they might be, and therefore I don't have to lie to get a better outcome.
Yes, people, you heard him there? You heard him there, didn't you? Yes, indeed. He don't tell lies. He don't tell lies. He don't tell lies, he says. He doesn't tell lies.
Why is Kamala Prasad Bissesa at Queen's Council today? Showing out, just like that. Story about the Attorney General's making deal with Nelson, and she want to know and she want to know. But let me tell you all something. There's a lot that we in the government know that we are not talking about, because they want us to talk about it because that will become their defense. They're looking for a defense to say publicity or political. So we've kept our silence last term, last election, and now, because we genuinely believe that the wheels of justice, they turn slowly, but they do turn. What the opposition leader is doing there in inserting herself, they are attempting to tamper with the witnesses. And the opposition leader is making statements to cast doubt on the prosecution of people who have questions to answer in white-collar crime situations. Just cast doubt. Create confusion. Give them an argument to argue. And I said tonight, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Queen's Counsel or Senior Counsellor, whatever you are, shame on you. Sub judice, my auntie. You, the people, need to know what is going on. And I will tell you, I would not be irresponsible, but you need to know what is going on. But let me tell you all something. There's a lot that we in the government know that we are not talking about because they want us to talk about it because that will become their defense. Sub judice, my auntie. You, the people, need to know what is going on. And I will tell you, I would not be irresponsible, but you need to know what is going on.
This man that lie on lie itself. He now say that, no, we're not going on, we ain't telling no any lies. We ain't telling you anything. And Bobby come and tell you, sub judice means, of course, you cannot make any disclosure in court matters. And then he says, sub judice my foot. I'm going to tell you. But earlier he said, well, listen, I'm not going to tell you anything because a lot we know. We can't tell you. And that has been a pattern of this man. And he continues, of course.
I don't tell lies. I don't tell lies.
He doesn't tell lies. Let's say him again.
I don't tell lies. I don't tell lies.
Let's go straight to the line. Professor, good night, welcome. Professor, good night, welcome. Are you hearing me? I hope so. Are you hearing me loud and clear? Are you hearing me? All right, okay, then we have to go here. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Hello, good night. The line's giving trouble. And again,
I just let me just
have a terrible interference.
All right, let me deal with this now. Oh boy, let me deal with this. All right, let me deal with it. Let me see. Why am I not getting? Why am I not getting? The phone and all like a game problems. All right. All right. Call back caller. Let me just make some adjustments. At least I should get it on the handset. I should get it here. All right. So just call back and we will deal with that. But of course, it's very hilarious that Rowley would say that he don't tell lies, and I think I better play that once more so you'll understand the madness that is taking place in the mind of this man.
I don't tell lies. You know, whether we like it or not, any government of Trinidad and Tobago having any chance of creating any possibility of a comfortable or even a surviving mode life in Trinidad and Tobago, our God-given gift in this country is the energy sector, oil and gas. That's what we have. We have that. So whatever else we do, we have to make sure that we get maximum from that. And this government from day one understood that. And that is why one of the first things I got as a message from you was to fix the problems in the energy sector and stop trying to run the country on lies. Because lies catch up with you eventually. A
few moments later.
But I want to talk to the mothers, the children, the neighbors, and all those who are attached to the petroleum business to make one clear.
Let me pause this. Of course, a pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, hello, good night again.
Yes,
Well, I'm
good-
hearing you a little better now.
All right, good. Yes, yes. The system seemed to be giving problems still. But go ahead. I'm going to. I didn't focus on it because I thought it was just an aberration. It appears it's more technical than I thought. But go ahead. We will get through tonight.
Yeah, no need to explain. Everything's sounding good. I telling
great.
you it's sounding good now.
Great. All right.
Well, what I want to talk is about a big raper man, because you just talk about raper man plenty. Well, it had a man rape up people for so young children in Philadelphia. Yes. If you hear how much account of rape and how much rape up and he's a big raper man.
Well,
I can't remember the first name. It's unusual. He have Muslim name, Muhammad.
all right.
Yeah. He rape up the people, children up there for so plenty rape. And he run
what
away
state-
and come Trinidad,
In what part of the United States it is?
Philadelphia, they say.
All right. Okay. You mean
And he
that's the
run
guy
away.
that they extradite from Trinidad?
That's right. You
Okay,
see how
okay,
much
okay.
thing you know?
Yeah.
And I want to talk it.
Yes.
Yeah, it.
I
Then
know that there was the
second time-
extradition. I didn't know for what. But go ahead.
You know for what?
Yeah, I heard
Well,
of the
he's a
extradition.
big raper man. He's a stinking raper man because too much at rape up. He rape up little children.
Oh yes.
And
yes,
he
did
come
say that.
here
Yes.
to hide, telling himself he'd get away from the United States
Yes.
and the law. And he tried to, fight the Matan thing.
Right. Yes.
And well, they take away his half. The US
Good.
send the marshals and they ship him out.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
A shame. A shame. I'm feeling shame for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well,
I want to know how he's so sexy. Yeah?
well, as I
I'm sure
said,
he's an old bitch. The name ringing a bell, I can't remember the first name.
yes.
But when I
I'll
hear
get it, I'll
it,
get
it's
it, I'll
ringing
get
a
it,
heavy
I'll get it.
bell. I ain't get to ask anybody. I ain't so macocious.
I'll get it.
That people that must know one time, and I'd like to let things wait,
Yes.
and then I will, get to know. It's not everything you have to be so macocious with.
Of course.
It's a
of
more
course.
important thing than that. Right?
Yeah, but
So
these-
let me tell you now.
These are important pieces of information. If we had such a person, dwelling among us, we need to know them because the government, well, of course, recently they have a register of people with sexual offenses that are supposed to be at the stations and so on. So thank you very much, of course, for highlighting that because there may
Well,
be
what
some
I
more
ain't finished.
later.
Nah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I done with he.
Go ahead.
He
go ahead.
done gone already. They say he could make up to 40 years in jail over it.
All
That
right,
he
go ahead,
business.
Go ahead.
He too damn sexy.
So
What
you
I
need-
want to say about what we was talking last night about the sleepyhead lady.
Night before. Okay.
Night before. Yes, it didn't come on last night.
Yes.
Whenever I use the word sleepy, it is in the present tense.
Okay.
And I never use no past tense to say she slept. Miss Bisad Bisepsa slept for 5 years and did not do anything. I talk in the present tense. Right?
Well, nice to explain. It's nice to explain.
Yes, in the
what-
present tense I always talk, and you say I can't be talking so and being specific and specify on what it is she's sleeping about. Again, present tense.
All right. Thank
Right?
you very much, yeah, for that.
I always
clarification.
specify, I always specify and say about the OAS, yap, or the Organization of Americas, where she should use her diplomacy to report this PNM government, Rowley and the PNM government, to that organization.
Yes, you
I
have.
advocate plenty for observers, and I always speak in the present tense.
Okay.
I ain't reach the future tense. So don't say that I accusing the lady and saying she did not do anything. Yes, she did, and I admit all of that. She
Great.
did. Past tense of do. She did in the years when she was in government. The only thing is I don't do like everybody else, come and keep repeating it and saying it over and over about all what she did, because a long list of things, it could take half night to say,
All right.
You understand me?
Yeah, good.
So
Great.
let's be straight with present tense,
Okay.
past tense, and future tense. I know all my tense.
All right, great.
Don't tell my parts of speech. Everything I know my parts of speech.
Beautiful,
Elementary.
Beautiful.
Good night.
All right, darling. Yes, indeed. All right, so that is cleared up. Therefore, of course, so everybody know now from Miss Arima that, of course, she acknowledged that it was not a matter of indicating that nothing was done or she was sleeping, but of course, that is present continuous tense, sleeping. ing at the end, it means that it's present continuous. But nonetheless, that is what I am saying. But of course, she has cleared up that, and I think that is where we are at. Let me just deal with this situation here, as far as that matter concerning the extradition. That is to say, a country will extradite, meaning that they will send them out of the country on the request of another country, and we have had that with respect, of course, to this person who has committed some very serious violation of the sexual acts of the United States, and as a consequence, action was taken by that country. He came here.
Trini-born former U.S. Marine extradited to face sex crime charges. Gregory McBurney yesterday. U.S. Marshals and agents from TPS and the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service escort Farzan Mohammed at the Piarco airport for his extradition to the U.S. for crimes against children. Photo courtesy, U.S. Embassy. U.S. Marshals and agents from TPS and the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service escort Farzan Mohammed at the Piarco airport for his extradition to the U.S. for crimes against children. Photo courtesy, U.S. Embassy. A Trinidadian man wanted in the U.S. for a slew of sex crimes involving minors was extradited on October 23. A media release from the U.S. Embassy said Farzan Mohammed, 36, was extradited to face charges for 128 counts of sex crime offenses against children. Mohammed, a former U.S. Marine, was charged for the crimes in Pennsylvania in June 2023 and, if found guilty, will face a possible sentence of over 40 years in prison. A warrant for his arrest was issued after he was accused of trafficking a child, sexual penetration of a child, sexual touching, inciting a child to engage in sexual activity by making promises of payment and gifts, sexual gratification by causing a child to watch pornographic photographs and videos, engaging in child pornography by making the 16-year-old make pornographic videos, and exposing a child to pornography, among other related charges. The alleged incidents took place between 2022 and 2023. After being charged, Mohammed, who has dual citizenship, fled to TT. Southern Division Task Force officers arrested Mohammed in Diamond Village, near San Fernando, on April 9th. He was taken to his home in Princestown, where a search warrant was executed. He was then taken to the Marabella Police Station and the Besson Street Police Station, Port of Spain, on April 10th. He challenged his extradition, but on September 19th, Acting Chief Magistrate Christine Charles dismissed his arguments, and he was committed into custody pending his extradition. The appeal court dismissed Mohammed's challenge to his extradition later that month, and on October 4th, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Reginald Armour signed a warrant of removal for Mohammed. Mohammed was handed over to U.S. Marshals and special agents from the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service on October 23rd and transported to the U.S. Playing key roles to the successful extradition were the TT Police Service, TTPS, the Central Authority of the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Legal Affairs, TT Customs and Immigration, the Airports Authority, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. U.S. Ambassador Candace Bond said, "This latest extradition once again highlights the excellent and productive working relationship we currently enjoy between our U.S. federal law enforcement team at the embassy and all elements of TT law enforcement. We have made great strides together in our joint efforts to address crime in both our countries, and bringing criminals to justice is the epitome of this success. We look forward to continuing this great partnership and many more successes like this one to come."
People, you know why I left Rowley's picture up there, right? You know that. Why is he is not the subject of this particular extradition matter, but he is a rapist and a pedophile. Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know what he's doing up over there. Anyhow, it's just a matter of time. But of course, last Thursday, I did, of course, play for you. But as the caller raised that matter, I thought it was important because it is a despicable blot on Trinidad and Tobago, on the individual, on family, the society itself. Because this one, of course, is a matter of extradition, meaning that he's wanted in another jurisdiction. And I want to tell you, there's a matter coming out of the United States where a well-known trade unionist was also charged in the United States on sexual matters. Yeah, I'm going to call the name in due course. I just want to get the documents in my hand. But then, of course, it appears that this seems to be a matter. I don't know if it is divine intervention, if it is by serendipity, meaning by chance or luck, but it behoves on the corridor transformation to highlight this matter, and I believe that it was divine guidance that gave, of course, the caller, the first caller, of course, the inspiration to treat with this matter. Because not only did the Parliament deal with it from the perspective that right now every police station should have a register of a sexual offender that may be operating or living in the jurisdiction or the precinct under which, or put another way, for which the police station may be responsible. But that's a serious matter. And it cannot be that when you have someone like the Prime Minister of this country never wanting, not only was he not made to account, but the evidence is so glaring that he himself should know that he ought not to put up himself as Prime Minister or as leader of the PNM, having regard, of course, to his licentious and sexual and, of course, bizarre, as well as what? As predatorial past. Sexual predatorial past. That's not waste time. And in the fullness of time, you will hear, right here on this program, you will get an insight as to what has been done. You see, there is no time bar. There is no restriction as far as the criminal law is concerned for persons who would have committed rape, whether they did it yesterday, they did it last year, or they did it in 1969 when Rowley raped that school child. Understand that there is no, it is called statute bar. There is no statute bar. And in the fullness of time, we will get the full episode. You cannot use the office of Prime Minister to protect you from these diabolical, dastard, what I consider to be barbaric, evil, and of course, life not just threatening in terms of the possibility that somebody could have killed Rowley or killed the girl, because families take a very serious position. Some families, where they believe the girl may have, of course, put herself in that position. Because I know, for example, in other jurisdictions, other countries like India and Pakistan, and worse yet, Afghanistan. And I'm taking the extreme position here, where of course girls are killed. They see them as no good. They see them as sexually promiscuous, and encourage, of course, the men to engage. So from that perspective, I'm saying that the child was in jeopardy, but more significantly, the girl had to leave school, and as Rowley's lawyer will write to me and tell me that she was out of school is irrelevant. She was 16, 17 years, 15 years when she was interfered with by Rowley as a teacher. Make it even worse. You understand why this man has to be jettisoned, has to be eliminated, has to be relegated to the dustbin, he and his party, to the dustbin of political history in this country, and that the PNM is really a criminal enterprise headed by an arch criminal. Understand that. There's nothing he could do about it. Nothing he could say could wash that away. Nothing he could do. He could have the whole police, the service, the whole army. And I say to all of you who defend that man and who defend the PNM in the name of this man, I say to you, damn you too. And that birds of feather flock together, and I categorize you as rapers and rapists as well. Rapists as well as pedophiles as well. And for good measure, let me play another article apart from that person who did that dastard act in the United States and for which extradition proceedings was successfully instituted against him by the United States. Let me also give you another incident occurring in today's newspapers of a similar nature. It is too often what we are doing is damaging our youths, damaging our children, not being good exemplar, not being good role models, and that cannot be allowed to fester, and Rowley must be brought to the book as well. A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Sorry about that. Pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome.
Hello, Lennox? Yeah,
yes,
hello.
Night.
Can you hear me, Lennox?
I'm hearing you loud and clear, yes.
Okay.
Loud and clear, go ahead. Are you hearing me? I'm hearing you call her loud and clear. All right, it seems as though we have had some mix-up, because I was saying it earlier, and I'm sure you did as well. So going once, going twice, or going three times, well, all right, I'll have to call back caller. Yes, indeed. So we cannot make bold. We have to be serious in this country. Our young people are going astray. You saw what happened to me the other night. Let me just take it here to make sure that I could engage on the handset. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, my dear. Loud and clear.
All right. I wanted to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
All right, and you tell me what in your mind. I know you really hate the Prime Minister, but this incident with this rape that you keep talking about happened 55 years ago, right? 1969.
That's right.
Did it or did it happen? Yeah.
It happened.
So
yes, it happened.
Okay, 55 years ago, 1969, when we were under,
yes.
we were still colonial. It was still colonial government here, right? Because we didn't get independence until I think it was 17.
No, that's 69. So we would have gotten independence in 1962. So it means therefore
62.
7
Okay,
years
all right, so
after independence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry to say I.
No problem, no problem. We are here to assist each other.
Right. And so I'm saying now the Prime Minister is how old? He's like in his 70s now?
Yeah, he was 75. I think he celebrated yesterday 75 years of age.
Yeah, so he was probably in his late 20s or something, or mid 20s when this happened.
He was in fact 22 thereabout.
Yeah, 22 years old, and he's all right. I'm just saying this. Okay, I'm not advocating for him. I'm talking about the incident between a man and a girl who's 16 years old. She wasn't a child; she was a teenager, but she's still considered a child. A 16-year-old is still considered a child.
18 years would be considered to be age of maturity.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, they say like people's brains stop developing really when they're like up to 25. You know, your frontal lobe and all that stuff gets fully developed. I think a lot of people who are 22 years old, if they see, especially guys, even right now today, and they see a 16 or a 17-year-old and they're attracted to her, sometimes they go out. What I'm saying to you is, if this girl was maybe 5 years old or 6 years old, I could understand the dynamics and the fear of putting somebody like that. But 55 years later, I'm thinking, the Prime Minister has never really addressed it, and he should. He should tell us, hey, you know, I was a young guy and I made a bad mistake. But he's very arrogant. He never talks about it.
He never confesses. He is always somebody.
But the charges.
He went as far as to say that the girl absolved him. The girl defended him. When in fact, she said that it was a clandestine arrangement, one, and she confirmed the age and date of birth and the date on which, and her own date to show that she was 17 years of age. And 9 months before that, she would have been younger than that. And he would stand up there and say, well, listen, he wouldn't even admit that he was young and so on, but his first child emerged from it. Imagine if he didn't have a child from it, that he would have been able, of course, to say it never happened. But he can't say it never happened. And what he has done is remain silent on the matter. And I say that is criminal. I say that there is no statute bar for rape, and therefore he should be brought to book. Even though, just as who? I'm sure you have some people in mind. What about Weinstein? And what about of course Bill Cosby? What about Bill Cosby? 80-something years. All right. So I am not going to take excuses about age.
Bill Cosby was drugging women. He was making them drug. He was drugging them like
but
he did
it
with a lot of people. What I'm saying here, we can't. What I wanted to say was that I'm talking about his pattern of behavior from the 60s, 70s when he got into politics. When did he get into politics? In the 1980s, right?
Yes, he joined the PNM. Let me be specific. He joined the PNM in 1974. But prior to that, he launched, or should I say, his forte, his initial birth in politics was on an NJAC platform, which of course was in the 1970.
Right. Okay. Well, let me go. Look, let's go back to his pattern. Let's go back to his pattern of behavior from that. Because this woman now is in her 60s, late 60s or something, right?
Yes.
She probably has grandchildren and thing, and I'm sure he took care of her, gave her some money later on.
Yes.
So, yeah. Right. So I mean, so she didn't turn out to be some psychopath, you know, and his child didn't turn out to be some crazy killer. So what I'm saying is, but his arrogance and pattern of behavior from the 70s were fed pretty much by Eric Williams and part of the PNM mandate, almost part of their, I want to say part of their mission is also to like destroy women, to put women down. And we see that today.
Yeah,
we see that today in Parliament. But yeah, it's a pattern of bad behavior and gender bias and hatred towards women. And we see that in Parliament when the government talks to the opposition and they call them names and they denigrate women. And we've seen that with what is that guy who he's now ambassador or something, and he was videotaped, remember? And then with a worker and a colleague, he was just doing a lot of stuff within within his circle, and he also was married. And so I feel like these men, it's like a boys' club, the PNM, because in Parliament you always hear them going, yeah, 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 go, 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 and it's like, well, it's like a frat party, like a fraternity party with all these guys, and I feel like that's how it comes across. And when they speak, sometimes I think it's meaningless because their arrogance is in there, and it seems like it's being carried on. And the women of the PNM, they're in another. They just do their own thing. They don't care. They don't care that of the misogynistic behavior of the men in the circle. I wonder if they treat their women like that within the PNM. They probably do. And I just wanted to say that I think that the Prime Minister, he talks about reparation, he talks about all of this other stuff, and he's always jumping in a plane and flying and making these fantastic speeches. But when he comes back, he never really shares much information with us. He never tells us, well, these are the things that we're doing, and these are the steps we're going to take to make things better. And I don't think none of that. Nothing will change in this country. Nothing. Those 13,000 jobs that Alison West was talking about, those jobs are already taken by family and friends. It's very hard to get a job in government. Ask anyone. You have to know somebody. And if you do get a job, you're going to get a low-end job. That's very low. The corruption within the PNM is not going to stop. And I saw that on Instagram. They're doing some flashy videos and talking about all the stuff they're doing. And Rivalry is in there, and they're playing hip music, like real kind of dancehall music. And it's just like a whole show, and nothing will change. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? And
Madam,
the arrogance of the Prime Minister is carried on.
If it's a feeling, the feeling itself is a factual one, and the elements that contributed to that feeling are also factual, because that is the consensus any reasonable, rational person must conclude, having regard to their conduct and their rambunctious behavior.
Because what you're seeing and what you're hearing, like when they come on the platform, they talk so serious. They say the words we want to hear, and they make all these promises, and then when they
That's a typical criminal.
Yeah, when they go back behind closed doors, they're like common thugs, like common, like they're like
they enjoy themselves. I fool them again, and I live to fight another day. Yeah. That's how I see them. And reveling in their dastardness.
And they're spending millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits. They're just, all of the law firms here are making money. And even Wassa was sued recently by one of the guys who claimed to be with Ivor Archie. Remember, he's Johnson. He's living in the UK on an asylum. And he won his case against Wassa. And Wassa has a law firm in the United Kingdom. They paid over $1 million. How many millions they paid to that law firm? And they didn't. Mr. Nanga, whatever his name is, he didn't even know about what the results were from the case. So I'm thinking they don't care. They're just doing things randomly, or they're spending money strategically, and they're not looking at how it's being spent, because nothing's coming back to this country. Everything seems to be going out on lawsuits and nothing else. Let's hope they get some money from capturing that fat ship. But I'll let somebody else go. I wanted to call in because 55 years ago he did this, and that pattern of behavior hasn't changed much. I'm not saying that he's raping women. I'm just saying the arrogance in him, but not like saying, hey, when I was a young person, I made some mistakes, and I'm married now, and I have children, and I'm happy, and I want to help the people. He'll never say that.
I might have taken a different approach if he had done that. But he is still claiming that he did nothing wrong. He's still claiming that there's no need for him to address anything, and that is a dangerous individual to do wrong and then believe that you are doing right or you did no wrong. That's a dangerous person, and it cannot be countenanced in a society that has respect for the rule of law, the respect for the person, and of course, you should not interfere with women when they are either vulnerable or they did not give you permission.
Lennox, the word is that he has children with several other women.
Yes.
I don't
Thank
know.
you very much, yes.
He's got many secrets. All right, bye.
All right, then, bye-bye. Yes, indeed. They must understand that no evil could go unpaid for. You cannot escape. You cannot go unscathed. And if it means reputational loss or total derision, scathing, excoriating, a vitriolic statement to make it known not only to Rowley, but to those who are so inclined and we are yet to know. We want them to know that the people like that are not countenanced in this country. And therefore our young ladies, because that young lady you would see tonight, I'm going to play it. I didn't plan to do it. I plan to focus on Rowley's lies. But that in itself is a lie, and therefore it fits sluggishly in the topic that I wanted to present tonight. But of course, the first caller let the horse out the barn, out the stable. And all I have to do now is to, of course, guide the whole process. So with Rowley in the background, and having said what we have said, and having regarded to the commentary of the last caller, all of which are appropriate and proper and is really relevant to this particular subject of Rowley's despicable, contemptuous arrogance, bipolar, schizophrenic, yes, schizophrenic, and dual personality, duplicitous behavior. He must understand that he has no moral and ethical and even paragon of virtue status in real to be where he is. For us to go and represent Trinidad and Tobago, he must be told, and I am going to write all of the blasted members of the Commonwealth. I promised to do that about 3 years ago, and I've not done it, but now it's an election year. They must know, and everything must come down on him. Because people must know they do not seek a high office, especially of that level, and an organization that has boasted to be in office for so long, deteriorating to the point where that kind of individual and others like him, clearly, we saw a recent episode in the Parliament talking about what? Talking about Zami. They must not prevail. They cannot prevail and will not prevail once good people take action. So look him in the background, look him in the eye, and listen to this other matter that is in today's papers as well. Listen to this one. This is also in today's papers.
2 men held for sex offenses against girls in southwest Trinidad. Laurel V. Williams. 19 minutes ago, file photo. 2 men from the Southwestern Division have been held in connection with separate reports of sex-related crimes against female minors. The men, 50 and 38, were arrested a few days ago by officers of the Special Victims Department. Sub Powder and ASP Cicheron coordinated the exercises, which INSP Jacob and SGT Thompson led. The older suspect is expected to be charged with sexual penetration against a 9-year-old girl. The offense allegedly took place in August 2020. The other suspect, a laborer, is alleged to have committed the sex crimes between May 2021 and August 2022 and September 2022 and October 2024. The police held him on October 23 after extensive investigations. He faces 6 charges of sexual touching, 5 charges of sexual penetration, and 2 charges of exposing a child to pornography. WPC Myers laid the charges. The suspects are expected to face a master in the South District Criminal Court on October 28th.
Yes, people, in today's papers, let me play that again for you so you understand, quite apart from the one that I played before.
Two men held for sex offenses against girls in Southwest Trinidad. Laurel v. Williams. 19 minutes ago, file photo. Two men from the Southwestern Division have been held in connection with separate reports of sex-related crimes against female minors. The men, 50 and 38, were arrested a few days ago by officers of the Special Victims Department. Supt Powder and ASP Cicheron coordinated the exercises, which INSP Jacob and SGT Thompson led. The older suspect is expected to be charged with sexual penetration against a 9-year-old girl. The offense allegedly took place in August 2020. The other suspect, a laborer, is alleged to have committed the sex crimes between May 2021 and August 2022 and September 2022 and October 2024. The police held him on October 23 after extensive investigations. He faces 6 charges of sexual touching, 5 charges of sexual penetration and 2 charges of exposing a child to pornography. WPC Myers laid the charges. The suspects are expected to face a master in the South District Criminal Court on October 28th.
How could we express our disapprobation, our disapproval, our total and unadulterated non-acceptance of that kind of behavior? And as I was making the point, not only with this particular incident, but the one with Rowley, the lady who I should say the child who is now a lady, and I'm making the distinction between child and lady, even though both of them may be female, would have had to leave school. It was a time when, of course, bringing home a big belly was taboo, was unacceptable, it was socially inappropriate. And this ugly son of a gun, with a face that only a mother would love, exploited his position is obvious. Because when she said it was a secret something, she seemed to be a beautiful woman or a beautiful child at the time, physically. And Rowley naturally couldn't get that kind of quality. Decides to use his office, his teaching position, to bamboozle and to infatuate. And as the young people will say today, he get through. But his first child emerged from that exercise, and that is how he cannot escape culpability. You could say how much you want. You know why I am emphasizing? Because recently, when George Young was accused and had to, of course, speak and, of course, explain and apologize to the House and the people, by extension in the Parliament, of calling, of course, Kamala Prasad Bisesa a Zami, yes. Rowley called for an apology for him for calling him a blasted rapist and a pedophile. You could imagine such arrogance, such contempt, such boldfaces, and such criminal utterance, consideration. That is criminal, Rowley. You're a dog sucking egg and you wouldn't stop. You blasted curl. And just as how he did recently in Samoa, because somehow Jindal was considered in some document in the Commonwealth. So he used that, the opportunistic political parasite that he is, a total political kobo predator. Yeah. He comes out and put pen to paper in an elaborate public utterance for public consumption that since Jindal was of course recognized by and I read the document yet because I'm sure there is some what I consider to be non-disclosure aspect of it that Rowley would not want to tell us, but believe that we are so damn stupid that we won't check. I will check. Tomorrow I'll give you what Commonwealth was really, of course, considering when they look at Jindal, according to him. But the thing about it is, as the typical political, opportunistic, parasitic, kobo, politically and otherwise, he tried to use that to vindicate his meeting with Jindal at the Whitehall and talking about, of course, the possibility that they are looking at a proposal. And he so stupid, he forget what he said the last time. Because the last time he said that Jindal was only mentioned to them, but there was no firm position by Jindal. But in the recent one, which I read today, I better read it for you, man. I better get it read for you tonight, man. You know what the man said? He said that he and his team, Jindal and his team was looking at the possibility of putting a proposal for the oil refinery. But, yeah, what you forget, fundamentally, and I want you, of course, to use your common sense and your God-given rationalization, man. Do not allow Rowley, including, I'm talking here specifically to the sycophants and those who are apologists by virtue of some kind of reward. I'm talking about a CPEP job or some director, as the case may be, and believe that any port for a storm, in order to justify, of course, your irrational presence, serving, of course, the PNM under Rowley. He said that they were looking at the oil refinery. The last time he didn't say that. He was avoiding that all entirely. Now he's saying that because somehow he believed that the Commonwealth recognition, as he put it, will absolve him. So now he was forced. And of course, as we say, who the gods wish to destroy, the first send them mad. And therefore they will start to talk, oh, what a tangle web we weave when we first set out to deceive. And Rowley, of course, has deceived so much now that he deceiving his blasted self now. So he was meticulous. He was particular not to mention that they were looking at the oil refinery in the context of putting in a proposal. You see, they could not have put in any proposal because all proposals that were supposed to be submitted had come to an end because there was a definite period for such proposal. Otherwise, you would be putting others who would have taken the time and responded with their request for proposal, the RFP, on time. You cannot open it up for one person. And that is what the opposition was saying. And we know now that that is, in fact, was so. He was prepared, of course, to consider their proposal in a situation where all RFPs were supposed to have been submitted by the time he met with Jindal. And yet still tonight, he is telling us from, of course, so more, because of course he saw the political kobo that he is, he saw an opportunity to try to vindicate himself, but instead, like of course the young lady are talking about, of course, Miss who he raped. saying somehow that she vindicated him when she said, of course, that it was a secret something and that she made and confessed that she made the child. She tried to try, hopefully, probably, because she obviously was not that bright. So he spoiled the girl. So she said that she made him a shy from 18, 4 months before she was 18 years of age. And she and the lawyers of Rowley trying to tell me that she was out of school, and therefore in such circumstance she could have sex, and Rowley could have sex with her as an adult, and worse yet as a teacher, when in fact the initial act in order to bring forth a child would have been 9 months before. That is to say, she would have been promptly 16 years of age. 16 years of age, maximum. And at minimum, no one knows if Rowley interfered with this girl, Miss Allen, who brought forth Rowley's first son, Gat Allen. Nobody knows if Rowley interfered with her at the age 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, but certainly at age 16. They tell him about. They tell him about. That predator. And he has the audacity to be. That is why in my home, he can't talk in my home. And I was to mash up the TV. Everybody knows it's to take it off when he is speaking. I do it because of the information that I need to share with you about him. Let's not waste time. Nobody. And it cannot be offensive because he's Prime Minister. Holy tail. He did it and he must pay the price. That's how it is. He did it and he must pay the price. Because everybody else, as you saw in those two instances, one man is extradited and to face justice in the United States, and the next one and two others are facing justice in Trinidad and Tobago. They tell me about who is Rowley, that ugly son of a gun. He ain't brighter than he ain't more bright than any one of us. He had more moral and ethical standard than any one of us. No. No less than us was he subjected to the moral, ethical, and legal, and other ethical and paragon of virtue values. And you must know that you mustn't touch that which is not yours. You must know that as an adult, you cannot have sex with a woman who did not give consent. Far less for a child. I don't get me vexed because, of course, we have the existing situation where his good friend, so Rowley say, and of course, his financer in challenging Manning in the PNM. I'm talking about the owner of NH International, who is now on a sexual charge. Having sex with a 17-year-old. They tell me about. They tell me about. They tell me about. Birds of feather flock together. That's all you could say. Can't tell me nothing. What more authority you have? And that's why I say all of them who defending that man, they have a blasted rapist and a pedophile as their leader, or they could talk to anybody. Father to talk to me. Tell me what? What they can tell me? What? Hello, the tail. Otherwise, I accuse all of the same thing. Since you want to defend that. The civil business, this is about Trinidad and Tobago's business. Yeah? A man who has turned the PNM into a criminal enterprise And I say so without fear of contradiction because you had to tell me where you get that money from to build that monstrosity of steel, bricks, mortar, water, etc. Yeah, of over $100 million. Tell me now, Rowley. I dare any one of them in the PLM to ask Rowley where you get that money from. And I dare any one of you to search your conscience and to say that is plausible over the last 9 years. Coming from a state of bankruptcy and the only common denominator to get that monstrosity up and up 5 stories high is because the PNM and this criminal entity is in office. That's all. That's all. That's the only reason. Profligacy and the waste and the corruption and the nepotism and the cronyism, unprecedented. And you have the audacity to look and try to deflect attention to others. Rowley, you fail again. The UNC has been absolved. Kamla Prasad Bisesa will win the next election and you will have to face what you promised and could not deliver, even though it ought to be easy, because you talked about emails, you talk about EMBD, you talk about the highway to Point 14, and we can go on and on. You talk about nothingness as well. You talk about corruption out of epiphany, just out of the sky, just so you talking about the UNC corrupt. How come nobody? After 9 years, going into 10 years, how nobody, and they're still talking that because you feel they could continue to fool the people? Feel it just so? Feel it just so? You see, there is a saying that people like Rowley in positions like that, they speak down to people, lie on them, damage their character, damage their career, because of the office that they hold, and do so recklessly, brutally, and without a care, because they want to somehow appear to be superior. But that is weak, people. People who do that are weak. Rowley's a weak fella. He suffers from an inferiority complex, like Young, like Imsbert, and like, of course, the other members of that team that know full well that they have been persecuting others to look good so that they could rise and have unmeritorious access to fame, fortune, the resources of the country, and influence. How long they tell, collectively and individually? How long they tell? They tell them about. So let's go back to where we were when he said he don't lie. Let's go back, let's go back. Let's go back, man. Let's go back.
You know, whether
let's go back.
we like it or not, any government of Trinidad and Tobago having any chance of creating any possibility of a comfortable or even a surviving mode life in Trinidad and Tobago, our God-given gift in this country is the energy sector, oil and gas. That's how we have it. We have that. So whatever else we do, we have to make sure that we get maximum from that. And this government from day one understood that. And that is why one of the first things I got as a message from you was to fix the problems in the energy sector and stop trying to run the country on lies. Because lies catch up with you eventually.
A few moments later.
But I want to talk to the mothers, the children, the neighbors, and all those who are attached to the Petrotrin business to make one clear statement to you. First and foremost, the government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
Let me hear again from the beginning. What you say?
You know, Whether we like it or not, any government of Trinidad and Tobago having any chance of creating any possibility of a comfortable or even a surviving mode life in Trinidad and Tobago, our God-given gift in this country is the energy sector, oil and gas.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Let's go again.
Prior to the election of 2010, Mr. Speaker, the previous PNM administration had reached the stage of completing feasibility and engineering design works of a modern rapid railway system, separate and apart from our congested road network. Contract documents were prepared for execution. The route alignment was completed. All the necessary land and socio-economic surveys were completed. Costings were done. Station locations were selected. Equipment and rolling stock were identified. And the organizational structure of operations and management of the new railway system were determined. Mr. Speaker. Member for Tobago, I am hearing you distinctly. And really and so on, the chamber is being disturbed. I would ask members if they want to whisper, do it in low or undertones so that you don't disturb the proceedings. Okay? Honorable Leader, continue. Thank you for noting Major Time to speak. They also claimed that the PNM wasted $500 million and got nothing to show for it. That is a lie. Please, don't use that. I unreservedly withdraw that unparliamentary word, Mr. Speaker.
Now, just in case you're not following, well, of course, you see Wade Mark as the Speaker. Well, that was when he was opposition leader. And I'm showing you, and I've shown you already in many ways how since day one, his agenda was to lie his way into office. The email being, of course, being the climax to that, of course, dastard and evil, and should be, in addition, of course, to being a rapist and a pedophile, and should be prosecuted for that. He should also be prosecuted for treason. Having, of course, indicated that a certain prime minister has colluded with others to kill a journalist. But listen to him in this particular spot of course, mendaciousness.
Dr. Rowley accused the government of hypocrisy concerning the rapid rail, examined but shelved the proposals for rapid rail, as it claimed the PNM administration spent $500 million for rapid rail study.
It was not a study. It was the study, yes. Yeah. It was not a study. Yeah. It was the study, yes. But it was all the engineering works to have been done to execute that project. It was not a study. It was the study, yes. It was not a study.
500 million.
What's the PNM's policy going forward on the fuel subsidy?
500 million.
The fuel
it was that study.
But that study, yes. For removal, but for review as we go forward, because as the oil price drops, the quantum of the subsidy will also fall.
No subsidy.
But we, in the context of the mass transit considerations, could see a relationship between both, where if we do invest in a mass transit, the commensurate response over time is to adjust the fuel subsidy, because if the population has adequate mass transportation available, then one could embark upon some meaningful reduction in the fuel subsidy in a step-by-step arrangement. But in the immediate term, it's not on the cards.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. The statement from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley at a PNM public meeting in Marabella on Tuesday night. In the heartland of the Pointe-a-Pierre refinery, the Prime Minister said the government was so confident with the rectitude of its action that it was not prepared to shy away from the people who are affected most by the action. He also had one message for the mothers, sisters, neighbors, and those attached to the Petrotrin business.
The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin. Yeah, the loss of that item.
Okay, we have some time challenges. We have enough time for one more question before we wrap up. So could we get that last question, please?
Ria Rampoli, CNC3. One of the more contentious issues in the last general election was that of the property tax. Where in the PNM's manifesto is this addressed?
It's not in the document. This is one of the things we need to talk to people about.
Let me take
Just
that,
like
let me take that one. I'm glad you raised that. I heard a UNC minister, I think it was the famous Prakash Ramadar, telling people that the PNM will bring back the dreaded property tax. Let me make it abundantly clear. The property tax has already been dealt with. What this government did a few years ago, they returned to land and building taxes in phases. The first phase of bringing the tax back was to treat with commercial properties. The second phase was agricultural properties. And the third phase, which they very willingly, knowingly put beyond the next election, is the residential. So as I speak to you now, arrangements are already in place, put by this UNC administration, for land and building taxes for residential properties to come back into being after September 7th. That was done by Larry Hawaii when he became Minister of Finance. So for anybody in the government now to be telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty, which has been the hallmark of this UNC government. So I'm glad you raised it, so I'll make it abundantly clear. The tax for residential properties have already been put back in place to come into being in 2015, put there by the UNC government.
But as you know, as we have exposed, he has told a third lie on top of that lie. That he would have told us that the government will not be looking at the taxes or subsidies first and foremost, and then of course not interfering with the property tax. Apart from, of course, the many other instances, iterations, and one could say versions of the same story, stereotypical of this, what I consider to be barbaric and ill-fated individual. Ill-fated. He's in for a tremendous and crushing terminus of his political career.
2016.
All right, Mr. Bagu, we'll allow you the final question.
Andre Bagu from Newsday. I was just wondering, does the PNM plan to renegotiate the contract to acquire 3 OPVs with Great Britain?
No. That's sold already. Those vessels have been disposed of.
The contract's been torn up. The vessel's been sold. The money has been received. There's no issue there.
The vessels are in Brazil, patrolling the territorial waters of Brazil. We can't renegotiate that.
The decision to scrap that contract has been heavily criticized by the PNM, and you mentioned how the borders have been left porous, and that's been a problem. So I was wondering if PNM administration would in fact seek to close that gap that you have identified.
What I just said is that the government has since, subsequent to coming to the understanding that we do need offshore capacity, they've brought in, I think, 12 vessels of some kind.
Limited.
With some limited capacity. We now own those vessels if they've been paid for, and I believe they have been, or they are supposed to be. We will see what is now there and how much of our borders they can protect. And if we need additional capability, then we'll have to find it in whatever way we do. So there's no question of going back to the one that they canceled and getting rid of what they've done. We now have some capacity. If that is sufficient, Well then, so be it. If it is not, well then the new government will have to improve that. And finally, I want to say one thing before we get off the stage. The last time we had a manifesto presented by the PNM, it was torn up in public by people who did not agree that its contents was purposeful. I trust that this one would not be so treated.
Prior to the election, I want you to understand something. This clip, this video was recorded before the 2015 general elections, and I want you to note something in the ending. That is new. That is new. Notice he said that they are going to retain those vessels that the UNC would have bought, and if there's a need for additional vessels, they would then pursue. Notice that over the last 9 years, whilst of course they did not use the 11 vessels that were there, bought of course and still being paid for, because government is a continuum, and therefore if a government, whether it's Rowley government or whether it's Kamala, whether it's of course a predecessor government, bought something and they are owing, they have the successive government have to pay. It's only Rowley would try to make us believe that they shouldn't buy that, and therefore somehow they ought not to pay. That is arseness, and that is old talk. And do not be lured by that nonsense. Whatever it is, Kamala Persad-Bissessar comes in as she will, of course, in 2025. All the nonsense that they did, all the debts that they have incurred, Kamala Persad-Bissessar's government must, of course, address it. The difference between, of course, Kamala Persad-Bissessar's government and this government is that they will do it in the interest of the people, one, and two, they will find the resources without, of course, adding pain, ache, and agony on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That's the big difference. They did it, of course, between 2010 and 2015, and I expect that they are now more mature. They have, of course, the cadre of individuals with the creativity and the ingenuity in order, of course, to treat with these matters. And I'm certain that as day follows night and vice versa, that will occur. But the point I am making is that here it is, Rowley was talking about if there is a need for additional. So it is clear that since 2015 or before 2015, the intention was never to use those Damien vessels, 11 of them, that could have, of course, not just circumnavigate, but not only put a maritime wall against Trinidad and Tobago, around Trinidad and Tobago. Nobody knew then that the migration flurry would have come from Venezuela. Remember, it's 2015 we're talking about. Maduro wasn't acting up and the Americans wasn't responding as they did then. And here it is. He was planning. It is clear. He was planning to buy new vessels, even though those 11. And what they did, it is clear now that they deliberately pack up those vessels that was bought by Kamala Persad-Bissessar for minuscule things, nominal things such as gasoline. You hear me, man? You want me to play it again? They won't play it again. I tell you, the man is calculating. He is definitely an evil fella. And that was the plot from the beginning. That is why when the central bank governor, Rambaran, you have to take what he said when he said that Imbert was only interested in the CLICO assets and nothing else. And when Rambaran tell Imbert that the bank had already, of course, addressed that matter, he just get up and walk out. I don't get vexed before I play that too. Notice there's a pattern of behavior that started since before the election, because their job, their only intent was to get rich quick off the exploitation of the resources of the country and leave, of course. And if it meant stealing from the most vulnerable, our children, the senior citizens in this country, And whether they say that they added something to seriousness, the fact that they put on a tax and then of course take away free transportation to Tobago is stealing from them. They're entitled to it. And how could you trust such a government? But listen to him.
Has been heavily criticized by the PNM, and you mentioned how the borders have been left porous, and that's been a problem. So I was wondering if PNM administration would in fact seek to close that gap that you have identified.
What I just said is that the government has since, subsequent to coming to the understanding that we do need offshore capacity, they've brought in, I think, 12 vessels of some kind.
Limited.
With some limited capacity. We now own those vessels if they've been paid for. And I believe they have been, or they are supposed to be. We will see what is now there and how much of our borders they can protect. And if we need additional capability, then we have to find it in whatever way we do.
If
so
we
there's
need,
no question of going back. We will see what is now there
to have
and how much of our borders they can protect. And if we need additional capability, we will see what is now there and how much of our borders they can protect. And if we need additional capability, we will see what is now there and how much of our borders they can protect. And if we need additional capability, then we'll have to find it.
You notice, he never used them, but he have a need. And bringing, he went and buy 2 more. I tell you, and that is in 2015 they're talking, so they had a plan. It is all about emptying the treasury, raiding the treasury, fleecing the treasury. It was all about pillaging the treasury. A bunch of blasted buccaneers, they call them. But I say that they're more than Frankensteins. Frankenstein, instead of blasted Frankenstein, saying one thing now and something is different next week, etc., etc. Frankenstein. Or should I say they are vampires? Whichever. That is the reality, people. That is the reality. Lies upon lies. Let's go again.
You watch as the weeks and days go ahead. I simply want to let you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, know.
Get me emails.
That you know me. I am not an irresponsible person. I am not an office hungry or office crazy person. And when I take...
let me pause here, of course, to ask everybody to share, of course. And I want to tell you as well, I think I got the telephone fixer, so call now. You should be able to hear me, and we should begin normal. I just found out why, of course, those videos were playing. What was the problem on the WhatsApp app side? So I just want somebody to call in just for us to test it and to make sure that we can talk to each other from that perspective. My apology though, but you know, of course, it was a sharp learning curve, and I have more or less a night to do whatever tweaking that is necessary when things would have gone wrong. And of course, as you know, the technology is very sensitive. All right, I'll take this one on the phone, on my hand phone, but the next one I'll try to take it on the system so I can reciprocate, so we can reciprocate. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Hey, Lennox, how you going?
I'm alright, my friend. Going on here.
Yeah. When Rowley was talking about they're not bringing back the property tax.
Yes.
And he said, Kamala and them saying, you know what the man said? You must play back your yourself again. He said, anybody in this government, like he government,
yeah,
that say we bringing back property tax is downright dishonest.
Yeah. I just know. Let me just answer this. Pleasant good night. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I hear you, Mr.
Beautiful. All right, hold on. I have Mr. Tobago on, and then we'll talk afterwards. Thanks very much.
Hear what? I will call you back.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, so I get fixed. I learning, man.
I want you to play it back.
Yes.
when you line with us, you say anybody in this government, which is he government,
yes,
that say we bring about property tax is downright dishonest. Play it back over him. When you were saying Kamala and them going to say they're trying to bring back property tax, right?
Yes. What was the, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. What was the word he used about the tax? What kind of tax it was? What it is?
The property tax.
Yeah, but what he did describe it as, he say it is that bad tax.
Anybody in this government, which is the government,
yeah,
that say they bring about property tax is downright dishonest.
Alright.
Right? In the government,
Yeah. That is what the evidence is. Yeah.
Georgia crap.
Yeah. Dishonest to the core. Never was honest with the people. A total criminal. And you see, right.
Because I can say that has been judged already. Can anybody in this government, which is the government, that said they bring about property tax is downright dishonest.
Yeah.
He government dishonest. I know you're trying to say when you're lying.
And let me tell you, in 2008, 2009, he went further, you know. I might bring that, I might play tonight, self. The man said that, he said that nobody in his constituency could afford an additional $100. The minimum you have to pay in property tax here is $500, you know. $500 you have to pay, you know. Because if your property is less than 17,000, anything below that must pay $500.
I remember that when he said that in 2008.
Yeah. This man is a wicked, evil man. A total con man.
Now he trip up himself and say anybody in this government, which is he government, that says they bring about property tax is downright dishonest.
Yeah, the dishonest and all of that hogwash.
He government is dishonest,
Yeah.
But they bring it back to go in.
So he lied to himself. Lied. The first lie was a lie and a lie.
Like all the says in the court when they're lying.
Yeah.
You call a liar, remember?
That's right. That's what happened with him. Going up in the people meeting and sending back a thing, trying to vindicate himself from accommodating a man who was never involved in the bidding process, and then saying that he was going to put in a proposal. He now saying he was going to put in a proposal. You know, I'm going to bring it up now. But go ahead.
Yeah, the man who set up the stage for all this buying boat all over the place is one land when he sent back the Galicia, you know.
Yeah.
He set the stage for that. And then they started bringing boat and bringing this one. And then he had this army man was Australia to buy boat. All of that. That was to make money. This whole boat thing was a racket. Cabo Star. And boats come in and take a monster reach. There was money. Went on there with them go boat business and you know go to boat out there.
Yeah.
Right? But I want you to play back that thing where you say anybody in this government that say we bring back property tax to dishonest. E-government.
Yeah, just play it.
Alright.
Okay then. Yes. Alright, let me Alright, let me see. The next caller on. Let me just make sure and get out there. Oh boy. Caller trying to get your way. Alright, okay. Like you cut off. Call back caller. Let me just show you how despicable this man is and how consistent he is and how predictable he is. Yeah. The man see that as an opportunity to justify the evil that he did and the infringement of his oath of office to do what? To do all right things for Trinidad and the Tobago, but only about himself and his minions and his criminal colleagues. Well, Let me just see if I get in. Let me see if I can use the system or use this. All right, good. All right. All right, let's see. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Yeah. Yeah,
it's me again, Mr. Lennox.
Okay, right, good, right.
I say it's me again.
All right, go ahead, my friend.
I call you back. Yeah, no, you were talking about the boat, the Superfast Galactica, that's Tobago.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This man sent it back. That boat was doing so well because it was a fast boat, and he bring another boat. That is why the Tobago people are against him, because they mash up the economy of Tobago, right? And then they're causing the old people now, because the other boat that they bring, I can't remember it, right? But they have to pay more for this boat that replaced the Superfast Galactica and mash up the people economy in Tobago. And then you're charging, and then you're charging the old people now. They have to pay one way. These people, Kamala was, but Kamala made provision for the old people not to pay. Now you making sure now that they have to pay one way. Robbing the people, right? But I'm coming back to the property tax now. Now I heard him mention that he said in Parliament that he was paying property tax since he was 70. That's correct? But property tax wasn't then. We were paying house and building and land tax then. So you're lying again. Yes, but I'm telling you. Yes. And then mind you, land and building taxes was about $50-something a year. And I used to pay $10 for agricultural land a year. Right? The taxes for just the agricultural land was $10 a year. And then Kamala come and ask the tax. That's when Kamala then came into office, ask the tax. So this man is, he's lying. And mind you, I am similar to you, you know. I don't watch him on thing, you know. He banned from my home, you know. No, I am telling you, I am similar to you, because this man I don't have no respect for him. Because he's not to be trusted. He's not to be trusted. Yes. And let me tell you something. You see that same thing talking about in 2008, where he said that his constituents couldn't pay $100. He was fighting on Manning with that, you know. Because Manning is the man who wanted. But let me add something else. Now, to implement, when he said that he was paying property tax, you know, I came and I was studying it, right? I say the land and building tax and the other tax for agriculture, that was a different act. Different from property tax. The property act
Definitely
was a different
and distinct. They tried to make it look
God.
one
And why the population sharing the big are so stupid? Because, and you know I agree with one thing. The people at Trinidad and Tobago are stupid. I fully agree with him with that, you know. The people doesn't understand. They don't understand, Mr. Lennox.
If people using the common sense, the God-given common sense, then common sense is not as common as one would have thought, because that is common to all
let me tell you
human
something else. I think we should do we should be doing our means test when people going to vote. Because some people don't know what they're voting for, Mr. Lennox.
IQ test.
Yes, oh gosh. But you see, look at the pain and suffering for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but I think
pain and suffering for all of us, boy.
I think the population has quickly reached to that point of understanding what is happening. I have full confidence.
Yeah, because you say you're closing down Petro-Trin, right? You say you're closing down.
Yeah.
What are the repercussions of you closing Petro-Trin?
Yeah.
Right? You raise gas about 5. I even lost count about 6, 7 times. I don't know. Right? That has caused a thing they call inflation.
Yeah, you said 10 times.
Right?
They say 10 times.
Yes, because when you raise the price of fuel, when you raise the price of fuel, it will cause inflation.
Oh, no. No, they say 10 times. They raise the heritage estimation 10 times. Yeah, so I like you.
Right.
I know how much they raise, how often they...
Yes.
Yeah,
but I don't want to... I want to continue because your conversation sounding nice. But,
yes.
So I'll call back another time.
I did, my friend. Let me go straight to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is San Fernando.
Go ahead, San Fernando.
Yeah, you see, what I want to say something here.
Go ahead.
You have to keep pounding the issues. The more you pound it into people's heads, that's the only way we could get through, you know.
I agree with you.
Yeah, right. So I want to say something here. If you look at the from a moral standpoint, right? I'm going back to that issue which I like to go back to. That same issue with the Minister of Education. And you see, I'm making the point because remember, right, from a moral standpoint, she should have been fired a long time ago. And if you go back, now as I say before, as I always say, I don't like to live in the past, right? But if you go back to when Kamala came into office, remember Mary King? Once you do your nonsense, you're gone.
That's
and
right.
This is how I find it should be. But this PNM government have no moral ethics or whatever to say, well, once somebody do the nonsense, they're gone because the head rotten. And that's Rowley.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's rotten like hell. So,
that's
you
right.
know, you know, and you know, and look at that. So, again, too, I want to go back to a statement even when the UNC was in office. When the UNC was in office, remember Nakanda Daga made a statement. He said he has never seen corruption like that, and that was when the UNC was in office. What did Kamala say? That you could actually see when she made the statement. It is a cultural thing with the PNM. So PNM was still there trying to infiltrate. You understand what I'm saying?
Kola, go to the top of the class. I always wanted to address that statement, and of course, you're the first person that has addressed it. So I will just put in my 2 cents. So when you are completed, go ahead.
So from that standpoint alone, we could see it clear because if the head rotten, then what do you expect? From that level. So that's my point I want to make tonight.
Okay. Yes.
I'll call back again.
Yes, thank you very much. I think it's the best thing I've heard in a very long time. The statement by Makandal Daga that it's the most corruption that he has seen. First and foremost, he was not close to the upper echelons of the administration. Yes, he was close in terms of the campaign. He was up and down the place as a head of the NJAC, to whom the UNC gave a lease on life. Let's face it. In fact, I want to tell all of this because that is not well known. So let me tell it one time because this is my program and I need, of course, to at least give myself some kind of exposure. In the 2007 elections, the elections before the 2010, remember, I told you all that my party, NAR, and one or two other parties formed, of course, the UNCA. But of course, it was more Warner and Pandey that led that campaign. But originally, it was supposed to be Kamala, but Warner and Pandey worked out an arrangement afterwards, and that is why Kamala did not attend the next meeting after the announcement that both Pandey and Warner was going to lead the campaign for the UNCA. Those of you who are around and understood, because there was skepticism, there was concern, where's Kamala after the announcement was made? I was there as head of my political party, Love, and the other members, but Kamala Prasad Bissessa wasn't there. She ended up, of course, coming to the big rally in, of course, Mid-Center Mall. But that is clear. So I want you to know, I know. Nobody could tell me. I was there. And I am saying that to say that Akandel Daga only had a beneficial role after they won the election in 2010. And the reason why my party wasn't in that lineup, neither the NAR, was because Dukaran. Because by that time, Kamala had taken over from Pandey. And Dukaran didn't want anything associated with Pandey. And so we were left out, Love was left out, NAR were left out, and the other parties that had contested the elections of 2007 under the UNCA are given all the information that is esoteric, that is unique, that only those who are familiar could tell. So here what happened. That being as it may, NJAC ended up, of course, replacing us, let me put it that way, along with, of course, the COP arrangement. And thus, of course, you had what the PPP, remember that, the PP, People's Party. Anyhow, when the issue of the unleashing of the PNM propaganda machinery, looking for any and everything to sully the Kamala Prasad Bissessa-led PP government, in places like Laventille, and the fact that Rowley was able, of course, to not only bring Rishmi and in the early days, as well as Section 34, as well as, of course, the so-called emails. And at that time, Rowley fresh. Nobody know him. So and of course, he had the reputation of tackling money and all. So he was a corruption buster at the time. Everybody was seeing him as a shining star. Nobody knew, as we know today, that he was the devil in disguise, that he was the devil manifest, that he was a fox in sheep clothing. Nobody knew that. Yeah. Nobody knew he was a wolf in sheep clothing. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that he was a wicked man in disguise. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that he was diabolical, evil, wicked, vindictive, and absolutely evil, as you saw just now with respect to those vehicles, when he said in 2015 that, of course, he will keep the Damien vessels that Kamala bought, and that there will be no problem, and then if they need more, they will, of course, bring in more. But what he did, he deliberately, of course, sidelined them. He deliberately, of course, left them in port for nothing, and went and buy more, because the objective was to thief as much as possible, empty the treasury as much as possible, raid the treasury as much as possible. That is what he did. The Galicia, as the caller rightly said, was sent back. And they went and get, of course, the Cabo Star and the Ocean Flower. and local people connected to it. Up to now, they can't find the owner of the Cabo Star, but it is working up to today. And even though in such circumstance, and since he was a corruption buster, and since, of course, he said value for money, and since he said that the Kamala Prasad Bissessa administration was profligate and they were spending more, you know, he came and said that the Cabo Star right now, that same Cabo Star could have been on the sea bridge for about 4,000 US less. But yet still, it is working for the same amount of money at the reliction of responsibility and, of course, anti the public's interests. Why? Up to now, we can't find the owner. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out when Kamala Prasad Bissessa comes into office. So he sent back the Galicia. And let me tell you something. When he was asked the question, that's to tell you how rambunctious, how reckless, how brutal, how heartless, how dunderheaded, how stone-headed this man is. When at the end of his first term, and he was having this interview at Whitehall, and the question was asked, Tobagonians say, well, listen, you are Tobagonian, and then they face more hardship than ever. In other words, Bessie wasn't it? And they asked him, what would you have regretted? Or what you would have done better if you had the chance? What you would not have done. You know what he turned and say? That evil man? He turned and say that he regrets he sent back the Galicia. No, not the Galicia. He regret that he sent back, of course, the Canadian firm that was maintaining the two boats, the Spirit and the Express. Remember that they are talking about the passenger vessels. Eh? He said you regret that. The company name is something ferry. Yeah. He said he regret that. Because all the time we were saying, well, we send back that company for that was maintaining the boats and so on. You know, all that clearly was an opportunity to go and buy 2 new boats again, in addition, of course, to the other boats for the Coast Guard. Yeah, that man, he plans everything that is evil. He sleeps on it, and he comes up with this phantasmagorical complex. And if you ain't smart and if you're not discerning, he catch you. But Rowley, your asses are grasses. Take I tell all you. Yeah. So that's it. But let me get back, of course, to the role of Makanda Daga and, of course, his statements then. You know what he said? He said he never see corruption, so. And then I realized that was a PNM narrative. The caller is right. Because he didn't want to be associated, because when the PNM hold on to you with the propaganda machinery, Kamala and they didn't know how dangerous the PNM is. And they didn't know how dangerous and how criminalistic Rowley was. They know now. But then, and let me tell you how I know that. Because I waited until 3 years into the PP government before I got an appointment on a board. I got an appointment on the Small Business Development Board, and I got an appointment on the matriculation, not the matriculation, but a board that deals with, of course, the looking at standards. Yes, the Standards Bureau. I got an appointment there too. Yeah. And then, of course, I was able to influence certain people getting certain contracts and so on. 3 years after. Why? Because Kamala Prasad Bissessa was naive, believing that somehow the PNM must be trusted, and the people who, of course, she met there holding political appointment from the PNM must not to be sent home. I sure that she know now that once it's a PNM, especially if it is a political appointment, if it's a political office, she knows it's a fire detail immediately. Pastor, good night. Welcome. Are you hearing me
Yes,
now?
good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night
yes,
to you.
I hear you.
Yes.
But I noticed people ain't calling you.
Yeah, man. A whole set of them was calling, but we had a problem with the phone. So, a whole set of calls came in just now. But go ahead.
I want to load on this thing a little bit. Right.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, I'm waiting for the water rail bus open in the Middle East. Yeah. You know, I just look at things far and it just come near.
Yes.
I waiting for that water bus open. I'm sorry I had to talk so.
Rowley too. Rowley waiting too. And conjuring up an excuse to postpone elections.
Yes.
I don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, because if he postpone elections, almost postpone literally postpone elections for COVID. You think that could be worse. But go ahead.
Well, he wanted with that I lock a strike for the devil.
Yes, man.
You see?
Yeah, any
but anyhow,
yeah.
If that war bust open real bad and Israel bomb up about 8 of them refinery there in Iran, I tell you, it's real bacchanal here, you know. We gonna hear how much thing. You hear? Ay. I'm Lennox.
Hey.
It gonna be hell inside of here, you know. People
will
start to plant big stone, you know.
Across the globe, yeah.
Yeah, but we gonna find out plenty thing and they gonna have big stone pelting.
Of course.
Yeah. People can't hold it down. Soon it gonna have some big stone if that only happen. But they're begging them. And what strategists say is that they're holding back. Right?
They're only military installations and assets.
Yeah, they wait until the election pass in the United States.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Okay then. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Right, so at least people, the line is working perfectly now. Of course, I want to give myself some fame there. But let me get back to McCandle. He was a victim of PNM propaganda, simply put. And that is what transpired there. Right? So he believed now that his loyalty turned to what the nonsense that they say on the ground in places like Lavatil and so on, where he's from. And he decided, of course, that he had to protect himself and start with a hogwash. But that will be a story that will be the subject of our program by itself, because we have a lot to talk about with respect to that. But let's get back, of course, to the lies of Rowley as he, of course, continue to try to hoodwink and deceive.
The action I have taken, I simply take it on the basis of my grandmother's old saying, moon does run, but day does catch him. In this moonlight tonight, we await the dawn of the mornings ahead. Thank you and good night.
That was a speech delivered by the political leader of the PNM, Dr. Keith Rowley, at the PNM's public meeting on Thursday, 23rd May at the San Juan Promenade.
If these emails are shown to have one iota, one modicum of truth, so Mr. Richardson now has the Prime Minister's life in his hands, and his contract is to be renewed in November, and he gets his 2 salaries, one as pension and one for the extension or whatever, and you want us to accept that as an investigation where the democracy was threatened? And while casting no aspersion on Mr. Williams, because probably know he's trying his best. But what is the record? What is the record? The record is that we know he has things to investigate, and they seem to become very problematic for him. We have to ask ourselves, is that why the Prime Minister is insisting that it goes there? The only way the confidence would be returned in this country is if there is a thorough investigation, one that is credible and believable, done by people who are not beholding in the way that this officer is beholding to the government. And the way the government is fighting like a junkyard dog to prevent this from going to the Integrity Commission, I believe they have something to hide.
I want to pause here, of course, so tomorrow I will play the whole thing. But I want to show you again, from since the beginning, how Rowley is not only conniving, his chicanery and his trickery and his dishonesty and his credibility, as we know it today, and if we had known it then, would have no value whatsoever. He wasn't sour. He, Rowley, wasn't sour. Talking about, of course, the emails. And when Kamala Prasad Bisesa and they were saying, well, send it to the police, he was insisting that it goes to the Integrity Commission. Why? You understand why now? Well, in case you don't understand, let me tell you why. He had already gone to Ken Gordon, who was the chairman of the Integrity Commission. Nobody knew. And present those things to him before he go to the secretariat of this Integrity Commission and he presented it there. So that he partner, that he neighbor, he say. And then, we did know then that he had his good friend as well, Justice Venter, a former judge, as the vice chairman. But he believed that somehow Richardson, the man who was acting as Commissioner of Police, would be in favor of Kamala and they and Scotland, and somehow he not getting the delusion, the illusion, the deception that he would want those fake pieces of paper to generate in his favor, to say that they're legitimate. Understand that? So he was orchestrating and saying that the Integrity Commission is the best thing since sliced bread. But what's something? When Manning had asked or called for a commission of inquiry into him and the $5 million, excuse me, and the $5 million, excuse me, on the fan seemed to be a problem. Yeah, turn it away. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, people. I'm sorry about that, but I had a sneezing spell there because of the fan that is blowing in addition to other things. But I want to conclude by saying this because already 21 minutes past. All right, let me see how quick I finish. I'm about there. Let me see how quick I finish. What I'm saying is that his friends, he'd already contacted his friends. Venter, the former judge who was the vice chairman of the Integrity Commission, and of course, Ken Gordon was the chairman. He had to resign when the news came out that Rowley went to him after keeping the thing about six months. But he was insisting on the integrity, so you understand why he was saying that. And watch the pattern. Point I'm making, I'll explain again tomorrow, but what's the pattern? The pattern is this. That's the same thing he did with the Police Service Commission when he wanted to get rid of Gary Griffith. Utilizing his office as Prime Minister and head of the PNM and exploiting, leveraging the beholdingment. These people owing the PNM for the office that they hold. And Rowley, of course, inserting himself when they're supposed to be independent and not making independent decisions, but decisions to favor Rowley. So we saw it, then we can make the connection now, and that's important. Tomorrow night, we're going to look at that again. But Rowley deliberately, the point I'm making, it was always a case of Rowley looking to line his pocket, a typical criminal, and that he did that with extreme precision and execution for one purpose and one purpose only, to line those who he prefer and rather, and himself and his family, his pocket of state. And he didn't care, and he doesn't care if it is at the expense of the poor, vulnerable, and generating more poverty in the country and more crime and criminality, as we have seen when he decided to close down Petrotrin, when, of course, we have extraordinary murders over the last few years of a Rowley administration, and we can go on, and a destruction of our economy, quality of life, and standard of living. That is the man. Understand that. But people, of course, we have to go. Tomorrow, of course, I will do that. Hopefully, I hope I will get a bout of the sneeze, so to speak. But have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow night. And when we will continue, of course, with this. We have to show that Rowley, before he got it, so it's not a question of he got into government, saw a pot of gold, and decided to go behind it, no matter what, evilly, and of course, dishonestly. No, it was part of a plan. And I'll tell you why. Because tomorrow, we'll focus as to how come Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC became the target for the very things that he are doing. Thieving, mismanagement, propaganda, and old talk. Incompetence, profligacy, and a betrayal of the public's trust and the public's interests. We'll look at that tomorrow night on the corridor transmission. Have a wonderful rest of the night, and God bless once again. Somebody tell me don't say 3 and 4 times, so I will not. I'll just close off now. Of course, we have come to the end. Yes, people. Yes, people. This has been wonderful. This has been wonderful. I'm saying that just to find my bearing. And of course, it's like a man who's smoking cocaine. Listen to this.
It's 5 to a bed in the hospital. Yeah. And we can't hear a word from Health Minister Kamal. Whoa. Black dirty water we had to drink. Was I saying clean, but it smelling stink. And my friend, money ain't no problem. My friend, you're shouting, money ain't no problem. Whoa. Yeah. You can't even use your phone to dial a prayer. Yeah. All the phones in a mess and it's like nobody ain't care. Whoa. You can't even call the Prime Minister. He got the phones in the Gulf of Paria. My friend, you're shouting, money ain't no problem. Lord, money ain't no problem.
This song is dedicated to all my sons and daughters through the 4 corners of the earth. I plead. Watch, don't get no horrors, but please take heed. I know you don't want no sermon, but my admonition is to guard you against all the evils of life that create strife and destroy life. Walk cautiously, children, be alert, because you have an enemy that's roaming the earth. I know you're young and restless, but you don't have to be careless. You see, sober thinking leads on to righteousness, to happiness, spiritual bliss. That's why I tell you this. Watch out, my children. Watch out, my children. It have a fella called Lucifer with a bag of white powder, and he don't want to powder your face, but to bring shame and disgrace to the human race. Now we sing it again. Watch out, my children. Watch out, my children. It have a fella called Lucifer with a bag of white powder, and he don't want to powder your face, but to bring shame and disgrace to the human race. I give you my counsel because I want to see